Good morning, Celebration Center for Spiritual Living. Hello and happy May 16th. I am so excited to see all of y'all. Oh, I like the waving back at me. Hi. I'm so excited to see all of y'all today. We're going to have an amazing service as we discuss This Too Is God, as we continue our discussions on Holy, Holy Uprising. And this morning we have a guest musician that I'm very excited about, Eli Lev. He is coming to us from Maryland, that state that's right above us and around us. And he is a singer, songwriter, and global citizen. And I love this in his bio. He says, he is making the world a smaller place, one song at a time. And I just love that idea of using music to connect us and to remind us of the truth of our own oneness. That's what that makes me think of when you say that you're making the world a smaller place, one song at a time. Y'all have had him here before. He is a new experience for me, but not for Celebration Center. And I have just heard so many amazing things about him. And I'm really excited that he will be joining us as our guest musician today. In addition, as y'all know, we are physically located in Falls Church, Virginia, just outside in the DC metro area. However, because of the pandemic, we are now a global community. We have people that are signing in from all over the place. And we have committed to y'all that even when we return to in-person services, we will continue to live stream those and to have events and ways to connect with one another on Zoom, so that if you are a part of our community but can't get to the physical building, you are still a valuable part of this community, even once we are back in person, which is coming up very soon in the next few months, somewhere in there. Ivor and I are still working on getting all of it back going and watching what everything is happening, what is happening in the state of Virginia, what the CDC is saying, and all of that. So y'all will be getting more information on what those hybrid services will look like and when we will be back in person shortly. And now I love to start our service out with all of us saying our vision together to remind us that we are that oneness that we talk about, and we are all headed in the same direction together. So please stay muted and say along with me our vision. We are celebrating spirit within and knowing the oneness of humanity. And we are truly doing that in every way. So without further ado, we have our music director, Lynn Hollyfield, is not here today. However, we will be hearing from her as well as the All Angles in a video for our opening song.
Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. This healing, this healing, this healing day.
Thank you so much, Lynn, for joining us with your music, even though you aren't here today. We greatly appreciate it, and I am so grateful for this day to be here together with all of y'all. And now I would like to invite our practitioner, Suzanne Delahaye, to lead us in a reading and some prayer. Suzanne, you are muted.
Thought I had unmuted. People always ask, what is a practitioner? And there's several answers to that. One is, Ernest Holmes called us the healing arm of the center. And we do that through a practice known as spiritual mind treatment. And this is a form of prayer that we've evolved through the years. And that is, the first thing is to know that there's only God. And since there's only God, you are part of that God, you are related to that God in a very real way. So, and then the next thing is to go and say, well, this is what we know to be true. And then to give thanks and to release that to the universe and to the law of the world. I have a reading from Ernest Holmes' Anatomy of Healing Prayer. Our whole practice is based on the concept that God is where we are and what we are, that there isn't anything else. Our whole concept is partially based on the theory that whatever appears to be wrong is not wrong in itself, but is a wrong arrangement of what is right. There is no dualism in the universe, as I have always said. There is not God and something else. There's no such thing as good or evil in itself. There's only what is, which automatically and mechanically reports from itself or interprets itself to us the way we look at it. And now we pray. And knowing that there's only one cosmic experience, one universal presence, one mind, one spirit, one expression expressing itself through and or as everything. And knowing that this is true, we are conscious, deliberately created from God as God. Because there's only God, only God, only God. And knowing this, I know peace in the world. I know love. I know harmony. I know joy. I know beauty. As it expresses itself with God, through God, as God. It expresses itself in the magnificence, varieties that are. And God chose to become me as he chose to become all things that are. Chose to become every listener herein. chose to become all things that are in the world. Because there's only God. I know that all things are well. All things are well. And all manner of things are well. And as I breathe in, I know that this is pure, wondrous harmony. And I know that as I experience this world as beauty, as wondrous, awe-inspiring, I know, and I do give thanks for this knowing. I give thanks for the presence and spirit of God through all things, to the being that is. I give thanks. I give thanks. I give thanks. And now I release my word unto the law, knowing that it is done and done well. And so it is.
And so it is. Thank you so much, Suzanne. And now, as I mentioned, we do have an amazing musical guest today, Eli Lev. And so I would like to invite him to serenade us.
Suzanne, that was beautiful. Happiness, harmony, joy, being aligned with each other is incredible. And this is a song that I think speaks directly to it. It's called Chasing Daylight. It's about being calibrated with each other and the universe. So I hope you guys like this one. Well, there's something about the weather when we're out on our own. Something about the path that leads us forever home. We don't need a reason, just changing with the seasons, following the feeling in our souls. Now that you're with me, we're chasing daylight and we're so fully alive. And I can't believe the world's still turning, 'cause we're hopelessly aligned. You and me in the sunrise. We're still miles away from the end of the day, and the wind walks by our side. We'll fly through the rivers and we'll swell through the sky. Nothing can bring us down when it's you and I. Now that you're with me, we're chasing daylight and we're so fully alive. And I can't believe the world's still turning, 'cause we're hopelessly aligned. You and me in the sunrise. And oh, this golden road leads us on forever. Oh, 'cause now that you're with me, we're chasing daylight and we're so fully alive. Into the sunrise, letting it all go. Now that you're with me, we're chasing daylight and we're so fully alive. And I can't believe the world's still turning, 'cause we're hopelessly aligned. You and me in the sunrise. You and me in the sunrise.
Thank you so much, Eli. That song was. I
I was inspired by Suzanne. Thanks, y'all.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's easy to find God in those moments when it's you and me in the sunrise, and we look around and everything, all is right in our world, right? And we look around and we go, yes, of course, it's all God, it's all God, it's all one. And that is not what we are talking about today, because that's the easy part. That's the part that we can all do, right? Is think and remember the truth of our oneness when everything's going right. I think the more challenging thing is to remember the truth of our oneness when everything is going wrong. That's where the real work begins. And that's what we're going to talk about today. There is a quote that says, if you do not know the truth, oh, I'm not going to remember that quote. There's a quote that says, oh man, nope, that one's not coming either. Okay, there are no quotes. And yet I still know my oneness as everything leaves my mind and goes wrong in this moment, in this talk. So where I want to begin today is the reminder of what we believe. There's a statement of beliefs that Ernest Holmes came out with, and it is still the statement of beliefs that we use today in Science of Mind. And the very first one, I'm not going to read them all to you, but the very first one talks about our oneness. And what he says is, we believe in God, the living Spirit Almighty, one, indestructible, absolute, and self-existent cause. This one manifests itself in and through all creation, but is not absorbed by its creation. The manifest universe is the body of God. It is the logical and necessary outcome of the infinite self-knowingness of God. Wow. And the things that I want to point out here is that this one manifests itself in and through all creation. That means that everything that we look at, everything that we experience, every belief and idea that we have, all of it is God, the good, the bad, the ugly, and otherwise. And we get to remember that truth, regardless of what is going on, regardless of appearances, regardless of what is showing up. And right now, we're getting a lot of practice at that, a lot. This past week alone, in the news, the news is happening 24/7, right? We all are constantly looking at the news and stories and things like that. But in this past week alone, there have been so many things that have happened. There was the cyber attack on the pipeline, that might have been last week, but the cyber attack on the pipeline that runs up the East Coast, that supplies 45% of the gas up the East Coast. What's always interesting about situations like that is that the gas shortage comes when everybody freaks out and goes and buys gas, right? And then we have a gas shortage, and it's the self-fulfilling prophecy of, oh, I thought we were going to run out of gas, and look, that's what happens. And gas prices have gone up. The rocket launch mistake, where there was a rocket that was going to land somewhere on the planet, and we didn't know where until a couple hours before it hit, and luckily it fell into the Indian Ocean. But for about a week, a lot of scientists and rocket scientists and NASA people were really worried, and there was a lot of fear kind of just circulating the globe as this rocket orbited. In India, there's a COVID crisis right now where numbers are skyrocketing, and they're saying that not only is it affecting all of the people of India, of which there are 1 billion people who live in the country of India, but that it has the potential to affect the entire planet and the healing that we're currently doing from this pandemic. In Afghanistan, as the US troops remove themselves from Afghanistan, as we pull out, the amount of violence is increasing. The Taliban is making a resurgence. There was a girls' school that was bombed where 85 girls and women were killed. In Palestine, the fighting between the Jewish people and the Muslim people is reaching a tipping point where bombing is happening and people are losing their lives and they're losing their homes. On Thursday, the CDC announced that if you're fully vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask, completely negating those people who are unable to get vaccinated or those people who are immunocompromised, and dividing an already very divided country. I could go on and on and on. And I don't know about y'all, but I can feel the energy going lower and lower and lower because it's hard to look at these things, but they're happening. And what we know based on our statement of principles is that this too is God. And so our job becomes, how do I get to look at this? How do I get to approach these situations in such a way that I am showing up as God in this time, in this situation, to this experience, to this news story? And that is where my work starts. That is where my work continues. The work's probably already started. And I was thinking about it, and I feel like there's 3 ways that we can look at all of these stories. And those are just the global ones. There's also individual stories, things that are happening in our personal lives that are hard to look at or hard to remember the truth that this too is God. There's diagnoses that we get from the doctor, relationships separating. There is challenges in work, money, financial challenges, challenges with COVID, all kinds of things. And so in all of this, whether it's a personal challenge or a collective challenge, something that we're facing or watching other people face, there's 3 ways that we can look at it. And what I realized about these 3 ways is it really matches our Science of Mind teaching symbol. So I'm going to ask Ivor to pull up the teaching symbol. I didn't give him any notice on this. So this is the teaching symbol that we use. And as you can see, there are 3 spaces. There's a top space, Ivor, if you'll run your cursor across that, a middle, and then a lower with a V going through it. And that V represents the ever creating process of that one mind into form and then back into the one mind over and over and over again. And the circle actually represents the infinite. So there isn't really a circle there. It's all places all at once. And those 3 lines delineate allness into 3 forms that it shows up. The top is spirit or oneness. The middle is the law or subconscious. And the bottom is form. That is the reality that we can feel and touch and see and know. Okay, Ivor, you can take it off. Thank you. And we can choose to look at these situations from one of those 3 areas. So the first place that we tend to look at these situations and these challenges is from that bottom, from the place of form. And that bottom is where we buy into the story. Those people, how could they? That's evil. That's wrong. You poor thing. You must be a victim. How could they do this to you? I've got to rescue you. And if you notice, all of these words play into that drama triangle of there is a perpetrator, a rescuer, and a victim. And the second that we enter into that triangle and we decide who is the victim and who is the perpetrator and who is the rescuer, everybody in that story becomes all of it at once. Because I see that you need rescuing and I rescue you, and you don't behave the way that I feel you should when I just rescued you, and all of a sudden you become the perpetrator and I become the victim, and then somebody else has to come in and rescue me, and the triangle continues and continues and continues. And I feel like that's the way, that is the automatic response. That's the way that we're taught to look at these stories. Is somebody bad does something to somebody good, and then that somebody good needs rescuing, but wait, they don't behave the way that we think they should, and on and on and on. We don't want to look at the world that way. The next place that we can look at the world is through that middle section, the law. And on the face of it, it doesn't look that bad because we rise above the physical conditions and we say, oh, it's all God. Everything is happening for a reason. God is in the midst of this. You'll get through it. You can do this. And those words on the face of it, they seem like they're good words. That feels like things that we want to say to people. You can do it. You can get through this. It's all God. God has a plan. There's a reason that this is happening. Something wonderful is unfolding and happening here. And while that place on the face of it is beautiful, and while there is room for those words and for that to unfold in that way, the problem with staying in that middle section is that we refuse to actually look at what's going on because we are still operating from our own subconscious beliefs. And what often tends to happen is that it shows up as us not caring. So when I look out at the hurt of the world, when I look out of everything that's going on in Afghanistan and Palestine and India and the United States and everywhere across the globe, and I say, oh, I turn away from the condition. It's all God. You'll be fine. I can't actually help anyone because if I'm turned away from the condition, I can't see what's going on and I can't support the people that it's happening to, including myself. And so what happens, we say the law is impersonal. It doesn't care what we ask for. It doesn't care what we say. It doesn't care what our intentions are. The law, it doesn't care. It just is a mold that forms life into it, right? The spirit in that science of mind teaching symbol, it moves down through the law. And when we choose to operate from our subconscious, when we choose to operate and only look at the world through that law, what happens is we end up not caring. And it feels impersonal, and it feels rigid, and it feels uncaring and unloving. And that's not God either. And so we get to rise above, we get to transcend all of that. There is a third way to approach these situations, and that is with God eyes. That is through that top layer of the science of mind symbol, the spirit, the oneness, the all that is. And from that place, from that higher perspective, what we are able to do is look at everything that is happening, but not buy into it. We are able to look at what part of me is supporting the creation of this out into the world without judgment, without blame, without shame, without guilt. And instead, we get to say, what is not working in me? What is being called of in me? Because we are no longer operating from a place of fear, and we are no longer operating from a place of having to turn away from something because we don't trust ourselves to be able to see that higher, bigger picture. And it is from this place that we are able to truly stand in our own power and rise other people up along with us to stand in their own power as well. It is in this place that we can truly stand in love, with love, as love for the entire planet and for ourselves. And we get to, from this higher perspective, We get to look and we get to ask, what is mine to do? And what is beautiful about this higher perspective when we are standing in that top level, that spirit, is that it is fully encompassing. We become that circle that has no boundaries and no edges and no borders. And so we encompass the form, we encompass the subconscious, we encompass the fear and the doubt and the worry and the concern. We are able to hold it all for ourselves and for one another in a bigger way that allows us to truly transmute and transform what is happening on the planet in miraculous ways, in ways that we could never imagine. But we can only do that if we are willing to rise above the condition and wholly support one another and hold each other up. And when we do that, when we rise above, what we are truly doing is creating a holy, holy uprising. And when I say holy, WHOLLY, I mean whole, all of it. The people that we don't understand, the people that we disagree with, the people on the other side of the political lines, the people with disabilities, the people that we don't understand, the people that are so radically different from us that we cannot even fathom what their day-to-day life is like. But when we rise above with those people, all of a sudden we can meet each other as God. And what it becomes is the infinite expressing with the infinite in this beautiful dance of God showing up for God and as God and in God. L.R. Noss says, "Do not be dismayed by the brokenness of the world. All things break, and all things can be mended, not with time, as they say, but with intention. So go, love intentionally, extravagantly, unconditionally. The broken world waits in the darkness for the light that is you." We are the light. We are the light. And we get to show up intentionally and extravagantly and unconditionally. But in order to do that, we must face what is happening. We must face the brokenness of the world. Ernest Holmes tells us, we will not refuse to help the helpless or lift up the fallen, but we will refuse to wallow in the mud because of our sympathies. So we do not, if looking at it through the form is facing it, and looking at it through the law, through the subconscious is turning away from it, then spirit is looking at it and yet turning away from the power that that condition has over anyone that is a part of that condition. And so we get to ask ourselves, as we look at everything, we get to ask ourselves, why is this bothering me? What am I making this mean? And we get to discover those pieces within ourselves that are unhealed, those hurts that are there that cause us to relate to the people that these things are happening to in the world in such a way that we can't turn away. And instead we get to heal those pieces of ourselves in such a way that we get to show up and be different for those people in ways that we haven't yet imagined. What tends to happen in these news stories is that we see a story, often from a news channel that is politicized in some way. So they tell us the story in a way that they think we're going to want to hear the story. And from that, we make judgments and we make snap decisions. We are really good at that. And there is a right person and there is a wrong person. And that is the way it is, period. But we tend to forget that even in these stories, there are nuances, and that even when there's huge things that are happening among large groups of people, these people are still individuals. These people still love and hurt and just want to live their best lives just like we do. And we forget that when we are told these stories in a way to make us judge in a way. And so we need to be willing to let go of those judgments. Judgment was really great for us for a really long time. Judgment is how we figured out that those spots in the leaves were not more leaves or the sunlight hitting the leaves, but they were cheetahs and jaguars that were trying to eat us. That's what judgment did for us. It kept us safe. It kept us alive. And it is so ingrained in our brains. It is so there as what humans do. We judge things and we label things as a threat or not a threat. And we've gotten so good at it, and we're so global as a society that we will support one another by labeling things as threats for other people. And then we get mad for them and we get hurt for them. And, this was all really helpful when we were saving our children from wild animals and making sure that they didn't fall into the fire, and making sure that there was enough food for everyone, that all of us, that the whole community was able to eat and thrive together. But now it doesn't work as well. All those judgments are doing is serving to keep us separate from other humans who are really just the same as us. There's beauty in the diversity, as long as we also remember that at the core of who we are all love, we are all God. And so can we look at that diversity of one another, and can we see the underlying truth of the oneness? Can we look at the form and move it through our belief systems in order to heal it and remember the truth that there is only spirit? Can we watch as spirit moves into form in ways that we don't understand and we are not okay with, and support spirit in transmuting that back into the spirit? Can we look at all of the world, all of life, every individual, the person standing with a gun held to them and the person holding the gun? Can we look at all of it and see God? And when we do that, what we are truly doing is looking at the world with God eyes. And the question that I ask myself when I'm choosing to look at the world through God eyes is, how would God love here? How would God show up as love here? Because that is what is mine to do in this situation. And the beauty of the diversity of all of individuals is that the answer to that question is going to be different for every single one of us. And yet that answer to that question, what would love do here? How would God love here in this situation? Every answer that we get when we are looking at these situations through God's eyes, all of these answers are necessary. That is what is happening when we are showing up on purpose and doing what is ours to do. And so we wake up and we look at news, or we look at our friends, or we look at the suffering in the world and we say, I see you and I love you. And when I look at you as love, here is what is mine to do, and then I go do it. And it is in that way that we heal the planet together, that we heal one another, because as we heal ourselves, we are truly healing one another. Because we are all connected, because it is all oneness. And so I invite you today to look at the world and say, how can I love this? How can I love this deeper, stronger, bigger? Last week, we talked about revolutionary love, a love that is so profound and so powerful that it changes who we are at our DNA. It changes who we are genetically. How can I show up to this situation as love that is so revolutionary that when I get done loving it, I am not the same person, and neither is that person over there either. Because this too is God, and all of it is leading us into remembering that truth. Every single thing that happens is a reminder and a return and a call to remember that truth, that it is all love. It is all God. And so this is what we are called to do. And this is what we are doing together as a beloved community, as Celebration Center for Spiritual Living, as we are showing up to the world and we are loving it. We are loving it in such a way that we heal. And when we heal ourselves and we heal one another in this community, we heal the world. And I invite you to prayer with me. There is God and nothing else. This one infinite, absolute, eternal presence, this one thing, this one mind that is so brilliant, it is so revolutionary that it is changeless. This God stuff that is the building blocks of this universe, it is the building blocks of the multiverse, and yet it is not contained within, but is bigger than all of that. This one thing that is so infinite that when I contract my consciousness down to the cellular level, all I find is more and more and more divine. The very neutrons and protons and electrons that make up my atoms, that make up my cells, that make up my organs and my systems, that make up this body, they are spirit. I am divine. And these are the very same atoms and neutrons and electrons and protons that make up the body of each and every person. Each and every person here listening to this prayer. Each and every person who is across the globe and will never have a chance to listen to this prayer. We are all made up of the building blocks of spirit. And when we expand our consciousness out to encompass whole galaxies swirling with trillions and trillions of stars, all we find is more and more God. That divine mind that knows how to keep our bodies working in perfect divine harmony is that same divine mind that knows how to keep galaxies turning with nth degrees of separation and divine perfection in such a way that everything turns and spins and orbits perfectly. That is the one infinite mind that is showing up here on this planet as each and every individual, as every situation, as every thought, as every idea, as all of the judgments, all of it. It is all the divine, calling us to remember the truth of our own divinity, our own sacredness. And from this place of knowing and remembering the truth, I know and affirm that each of us are looking at the world with God eyes. That each of us are showing up to the world with revolutionary love at the very core of our being. That each of us is healing. And that we are returning the form to spirit. That we are remembering the truth that God is all there is. And that we are loving one another so deeply, so profoundly, that we are changed, we are shifted. The beingness of who we are is returned to the truth that there is only God. And I am so grateful for this beloved community. I am so grateful for every individual in it. I am so grateful for the commitment to love, the commitment to show up with one another, the commitment to do the work, to heal ourselves, to heal one another, to heal the planet. I am so grateful for this community where we rise above and we lift one another up along with us. I am so grateful for our God eyes, and I am so grateful for our revolutionary love. And I am so grateful for the holy, holy uprising that is happening here with us, as us, in us, and through us. And so from this place of knowing and remembering the truth, I simply let my word go. I allow it to be transformed just as I transform. I allow love to do what love does, and I allow God to show up fully as God in every moment, in every day, in every situation. As I release this prayer, and together we say, and so it is. And now I would like to invite Eli back for another song.
I love the idea of all the good and all the bad, and how that's the experience that we need to stay with. Here's a song called Water. It's about gratitude and finding that middle space between all the things. Tell me I got water, tell me I got bread, tell me I got shelter, a place to lay my head. I've never been so far out on my own. I've never been so high, never felt so alone. Well, tell me I got water, tell me I got bread, tell me I got shelter and a place to lay my head. I've never been so far out on my own. I've never been so high, never felt so alone. Well, some days I feel like a motherless child. Some days I feel so much joy I could cry. Well, some days I feel, and tell me all my family are safe and sound. I can feel their love the whole world around, and all my friends that I hold dear shine on like diamonds, oh so clear. Yes, some days I feel like a motherless child. Some days I feel so much joy I could cry. Some days I feel like a motherless child. Some days I feel so much joy I could cry. Yes, some days I feel like a motherless child, and some days I feel so much joy I could cry. Some days I feel like a motherless child. Some days I feel so much joy I could cry.
Thank you, Eli.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm digging your sound a lot. I'm really grateful you're here today. And that song reminded me of a poem that is so good that I just looked it up, and I'm going to read it to us because we have an extra minute. And some of y'all have probably heard this before, but I invite you to just close your eyes and hear it with God ears. It doesn't interest me what you do for a living. I want to know what you ache for, and if you dare to dream of meeting your heart's longing. It doesn't interest me how old you are. I want to know if you will risk looking like a fool for love, for your dream, for the adventure of being alive. It doesn't interest me what planets are squaring your moon. I want to know if you have touched the center of your own sorrow, if you have been opened by life's betrayals or have become shriveled and closed from fear of further pain. I want to know if you can sit with pain, mine or your own, without moving to hide it or fade it or fix it. I want to know if you can be with joy, mine or your own, if you can dance with wildness and let the ecstasy fill you to the tips of your fingers and toes without cautioning us to be careful, be realistic, remember the limitations of being human. It doesn't interest me if the story you are telling me is true. I want to know if you can disappoint another to be true to yourself. If you can bear the accusation of betrayal and not betray your own soul. If you can be faithless and therefore trustworthy. I want to know if you can see beauty even when it is not pretty every day. And if you can source your own life from its presence. I want to know if you can live with failure, yours and mine, and still stand at the edge of the lake and shout to the silver of the full moon, yes. It doesn't interest me to know where you live or how much money you have. I want to know if you can get up after the night of grief and despair, weary and bruised to the bone, and do what needs to be done to feed the children. It doesn't interest me who you know or how you came to be here. I want to know if you will stand in the center of the fire with me and not shrink back. It doesn't interest me where or what or with whom you have studied. I want to know what sustains you from the inside when all else falls away. I want to know if you can be alone with yourself and if you truly like the company you keep in the empty moments. And so it is, and that is The Invitation by Uriah Mountain Dreamer. So thank you, Eli, for the reminder of that poem and for that beautiful song as well. And now, this is the time in our service for prayer requests and for gifts. So first, prayers. To me, all of life is a prayer. And watching the news or turning on the TV or the radio or Facebook even is a call to prayer, right? And there are things that we have going on in our lives that we would like prayer and support in. And that is what our practitioners are so good at. So if there's something going on in your life that you are struggling to see with God eyes, we invite you to turn in your prayer requests and let us know the truth with you, that there is only God here. And so there are a couple of different ways that you can do that. The first is by emailing us at prayer@celebrationcenter.org, and it will be in the chat. Or you can also go to our website, and Ivor, if you'd like to pull that up, that would be great. And you can click on Request Affirmative Prayer right there in the purple, and that leads you to a form that you can fill out. Both of these methods of praying are completely confidential. They go to our myself as the minister and our licensed practitioners to pray with you and know the truth. And now I'd like to talk about giving. So you are welcome to give right there by clicking that green button. And Ivor, if you would like to click on that. As y'all know, we have a new system called Breeze Church Management, and it is so breezy and easy. It is easy peasy lemon squeezy, and it makes me really happy. So you just put in your donation amount. If you want, you don't have to fill out what gift it goes or what fund it goes to, but you can, and you can give a reoccurring amount, you can give one time, and you can give by credit or debit card, or you can give by ACH transfer directly from your bank. And then when Ivor hits continue, it leads him to the next page where he fills out all of his banking information. And as you can see, you can also cover the cost of the processing fees, which was not an option on PayPal. We were paying those, and I appreciate everybody who has done that so far. And just know that all of your gifts to the center are so gratefully received, and that all of your gifts are going for us to do this work of healing the planet and loving one another at a deeper level in everything that we do, that the money is supporting the love. And with that, I invite you to take all of your gifts, whether it is monetary, whether it is your brilliance, your time, your offering, your talent, whatever it is, and just bring it to your heart and say our offertory affirmation aloud on mute with me. I open my heart to give and receive the blessings that our spirits promise to me. As I do, the entire universe conspires to give me an abundant life, and I open to accept it. And so it is.
From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, by this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, by this we live.
And Suzanne, would you like to bless our prayers and our blessing, our tithes?
And knowing that there is only God, only God, only God, and it is part of this wondrous experience of God. I bless these prayer requests. I bless this, knowing that as we as practitioners, all of us are practitioners, know that the goodness of God is here and now, all around us and within us, and working on our requests. I know that all is well. All is well. All manner of things are well. And I now bless our gifts to the center, knowing that as they give our gifts, as we give our gifts, as we freely and openly give that which is given to us, we so appreciate and add value to that which is us. And God so loves the givers that he gives us more and more and more. Our cups overflow with the love and God blessings. And knowing this, I give thanks for this giving. I give thanks for the healings. I give thanks. I give thanks. I give thanks. And knowing this, I release all concerns that this is not so, because it is. And I say from the depth of my being, and so it is.
And so it is. Thank you, Suzanne. Beautiful. And now we have in a rare, exciting moment, we've got Michael Zawadzki doing the announcements 2 weeks in a row. So, Michael.
A rare and exciting moment. I love the intro. Thank you, Reverend Chris. Yes, 2 weeks in a row. You are so lucky, beloved community, aren't you, to have me back? I know. I was, anyway, without further ado, yes, it's such a great privilege and honor to be here again. And I was so blessed. What a great message this morning, Reverend Chris. It's so profound and thought-provoking. Thank you. And to have, Eli Lev with us as well. What a wonderful Sunday we're having. And well, before the announcement, are there any new visitors here who would like to, say who they are and how they found us? Please, just unmute yourself or raise your hand, and Ivor will help you. Anybody would care to share a few words with us? No? Okay, I will go straight to the announcements. Thank you. Anybody heard of Zentangle? Zentangle. I hadn't heard of it until this morning when I Googled it. Anyway, Zentangle is going to be part of a fundraising workshop on Saturday, June the 12th, between 10 and 12 p.m. And it says, if you can write in your name, you can practice the art and meditation of Zentangle. It's with Reverend Alan Vukas. So please check that out. I think there's going to be a link in the chat to have a look at that. Reason for this, Ivor and Reverend Chris are all tangled up in cords, working on creating hybrid services and events for us to return safely in person. So that's something we need to work on, and that the technology is going to cost us, though, about $2,000. So help us untangle with Zentangle. I didn't write that, but I thought that was really good. Next, a new class. We're falling in love with all these classes, and it's called, Falling in Love with You. And that's going to be on starting on Friday, June the 4th. It's going to run till July 2nd, and it's for, let's have a look, 5:30 to 8:30. 5:30 to 8:30. So check that out. Check that out on the website. It's a 5-week course. It's going to be basically discovering who we are at our deepest level, our authentic self. So, and finding out ways we can consciously live in alignment with our true selves. So please check that out. Everybody's welcome. Registration is $199 and includes assessments using various tools, scholarships available, and the link also is in the chat. And oh my goodness, this Thursday, we've got Not Your 90s New Thought. All right. Again, inspiring, raw, authentic conversation between Reverend Chris and Reverend Dan Granda, and about New Thought teachings. We get real about, or they get real about science of mind, our thinking, our beliefs, and how to walk our talk in every aspect of life. That sounds fascinating. It's going to be streaming live on Facebook through Reverend Chris's page. Link in the chat again, every third, and this is going to be this Thursday at 3 p.m. And then we've got our regular weekly announcements. Okay, if you could, Ivor, you could just swing over to those regular weekly announcements. That would be great. I know on we have Reverend Laurie and Ivor going to do our check-in every day. That would be really good. And then we've got Jen. Okay, here we go. Thank goodness, I was going off my memory here. And that, I was getting worried there for a second. So we've got Mondays and Thursdays, we've got Gentle Yoga with Jen Fay. Tuesdays, we've got meditations in the evening with Reverend Chris and Jen Fay again. Thursday, we've got choir practice. And Saturdays, we've got chanting. The next drumming session, I guess, is going to be at the end of the month. And that is about it, I think. So that's a wrap, everybody. Have a great week, and we'll see you again. If you're lucky, you might get me next week, but I don't think so. Bye, everybody.
Be lucky. Thank you so much, Michael. You did great with all of those really new announcements. So I just want to speak for just a second about the Zentangle workshop that we're doing. So we are offering this as a fundraiser because Reverend Alan Vukas, who does Zentangle and is a licensed Zentangle teacher, he offers these to centers for as a love offering. So he is not charging us to offer this workshop, and he often does fundraisers and things like this for centers. So it's a really cool method. I'm super excited to learn it. I've read some books on it, but I've never had somebody teach me. And Ivor and I have been meeting a lot, and I have actually been meeting with another sounds person to make sure that when we do come back in person that we are offering high quality stuff for in person and online, and that is going to cost us about $2,000 as Ivor and I have done all of the work and looking at what we need as far as computers and technology and cameras and cords and all of it. So thank you so much for your willingness to support that. And if you go to that link to sign up and register for the class, there's not a set amount of the donation. You can donate any amount that you would like in exchange for that class, or you can just donate to that fund. That fund will be an option that you can donate to on Breeze as well. So thank y'all. And now I would like to invite Eli back for one final closing song.
All right, this has been such a wonderful way to start my Sunday and to get me ready for the next week, and wanted to thank you all for having me, and Reverend Chris for such a wonderful time and space that you've created here. This song is called There's a Light, and it's going to be on my upcoming album called True North. And it's interesting, we were talking about shadows today. So this song has tells us that, you know, the shadows tell us where the light is, interestingly enough. So here's a song called There's a Light. There's a shadow on the wall of an angel come to call and remind me of what I've always known. She whispers in my ear the words I can barely hear, but the meaning I can feel in my bones. There's a peace just outside my window. There's a war raging at my door, but there's a light. There's a light. And if I close my eyes and go deep inside, I can see that there's a light. There's a light. There's a light. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you. So I send us out into the world to look at everything with God eyes through love and find that light that is deep inside. And with that, we will say bye to our Facebook watchers and YouTube watchers.